phobia. Uni! I yelled as I rushed into the room. Wait a second, the room I just rushed into wasn't the cabin. Stopped and took a good look around me. This is the Tori's room. Help! Help me, Tori! What's wrong? Before me were Uni and Tori. Uni was hiding behind a Tori, peeking out from behind her back. He looked scared out of his wits. As if to protect him, Tori had spread her arms wide. Transfer. What happened, Unicun? Satoru, he tried to attack me. Satoru? I have a feeling... What? I'm starting to have a feeling that while transfers are happening, people can take control of our bodies. Wait, Uni. I hurriedly interjected. I don't know what happened, but this wasn't me. I wasn't the one who did it. It's probably Cocoro who... Who cares about that? Isn't Cocoro just a part of you? Leave me alone already. Stay away from me. Uni. I see. I think I more or less get it now. Tori extended her right arm. She pointed her index finger at the door. The next words were, Get out, Satoru. Her cold tone left no room for debate. But, no excuses. I don't want to hear it. Don't you get why she's scared? Why you're so scared? I don't, how could I? Because I didn't do anything. But it'd be useless to object now. I should leave for the time being. I understand. I said, my shoulders drooping. Having decided to leave, I turned around. I extended one foot towards the door. But the moment I did, For I knew my body was hurling towards the floor, and then in slow motion as though I was on the surface of the moon. My surroundings slowly tilted. My face slammed against the doorknob and sank into my cheek. My body bent inwards like a sheet of plastic. From the position, my face slid slowly and agonizingly down the surface of the door. I hit the floor with a thud. Right then, all movement stopped. Before I realized that I was lying next to the door, my cheekbones and teeth hurt like hell, but astonishment overwhelmed the pain. Why was I staggering and unable to support my body like this? Why didn't I throw out my arms by reflex to protect myself? What are you doing? Her scornful voice trailed me. Really, what the hell am I doing? It took some time for me to remember. I'm always confused after a transfer. But I finally brought myself back to speed up the situation. Right, I forgot, my body was still being racked by DMT. Insertion. Why was that called phobia, though? Interesting. Having somehow managed to reach my room, I was now resting on my bed. The effects of the DMT were slowly beginning to subside, but I still felt like a rubber doll. If I concentrated with all my might, I could manage to stand or even walk. However, if I lost focus for even a second, I became worn out faster than a pair of socks worn out for 3 days and 3 nights straight. Movement requiring the use of my reflexes were especially slow and painful. Right now, if you were to throw so much as a paper bag at me, I'd only flail like a fish out of water, unable to avoid it. Wanted to Utsumi. Wow, the second flashback of the game. Well, flashbacks are very rare in this game, you know? It'll take at least 12 hours for the chemical to completely leave your body. Okay. So I can't hope for a complete recovery until around 8 PM. Sheesh, just perfect. Can't go and look for the culprit like this. Anyway, the only thing I could do now is wait for the DMT to be broken down and expel my body. The only upside to having my reflexes impaired like this is that time seems to be progressing frightfully fast to me. On the digital display of my wristwatch, passage of each second was considerably faster than normal. I suddenly noticed that the sky had overflowed with that madder red hue. Present time 3:55 PM. 4 hours until 8. Put the wristwatch back in my pocket and closed my eyes. I guess I could go to sleep, or at least try to, but just then, the door opened. I opened my eyes in a flash and swiveled my neck to the side. There stood a Tori. What is it now? Something wrong, Uni? Something wrong with Uni? I went to get up as I spoke, and my body wiggled like a dancer and desperately performing some strange ballet. I managed to right myself and settled back down in the bed. I bent forward and crossed my arms over my knees. Hee. Amused at my pathetic condition, Hattori laughed. She wore a complex smile of neither scorn nor pity. Smack, smack. What's the weird sound she's making? Is she eating hard candy or something? She backed up against the open door to shut it, then cast a sidelong glance at me. She seemed to be holding something behind her back. I could faintly see the edges of something looking like a magazine sticking out from behind her. Why aren't you saying anything? No reason. No reason, huh? Then what did you come in here for? To be killed. Huh? Maybe I'm here to be killed. Oh. Didn't quite get what she was trying to say. I knit my brows together as I gazed at her, trying to figure her out. You want to kill me too, don't you? Me too, killer? That too worried me, but for the time being I answered. Yeah, sure! Wow! Oh my god, I can't believe you can actually say that! Yeah, I sure do. I dared to answer. She's the killer responsible for the Aozumi incident. Junichi, Itsumi, and Yomogi. If I think about the three of them strangling her to death, wouldn't be nearly enough. Just a thought. That's fine, you can kill me if you want. She wore a playful expression. Tori, don't misunderstand. I simply said I want to kill you, never said it was going to. Oh, what a pity. I was just thinking, if I have to be killed, I'd rather Satoru did it. Oh well. Then can I do the killing instead? I'd already grown used to her provocative words. I cocked my head and cracked my spine as I looked nowhere in particular. I faked a carefree attitude, but I was paying attention to every detail. Was Satoru the one who made me take the DMT and the inhibitor after all? But if she were the criminal, would she really be casually hinting at her crimes like that? No, pass. I answered lightly, treating it like a joke. No matter what? A coaxing voice, much like a spoiled child. A tone of voice, so out of place in this conversation, caused me to unintentionally loosen up. No matter what. Is that so? Well, I give up then. But this is quite the disappointment, you know? And here I thought I'd bring you to Kuroko. For a moment's silence. After blinking several times, I asked, what do you mean? What do I mean? Just what I said. Because the woman called Kuroko is dead, isn't she? Those words were like a blow that sent everything I had thought of to the point flying away, leaving no trace. A cold shiver ran along my spine. I held my breath and let out a raspy voice. What are you... It's this. She tossed me the thing she's held behind her back. Hit my shoulder and fell to the ground. It's the magazine under the bed, right? Could neither catch nor dodge it. A body like this, even picking it up was a difficult task. But there was no need to waste my strength. What had fallen to the floor as I suspected was the magazine. On the front cover was the printed heading, Current Events Weekly, July 21st. Where did you... I found it. Yeah, hidden under the mattress. Don't go rummaging around people's rooms like that. I shouldn't? Of course not. Which means I shouldn't have read the stuff written on the notepad either. My body slumped and I hung my head. The notepad had every conversation I had with Cocoro since the beginning. We wrote everything about the personality exchange, about the person who had out to kill me. The person where I'd written Satoru might be the culprit. Satoru, how do I say this? She's dead, you know. I understood after I read that. The way I see it, what you're writing is just an exchange diary with yourself. I doubt that. Well, since it has nothing to do with me, I don't really care. More importantly, Satoru, it looks like someone's after you. And about the culprit, you wrote, even if the Itori personality is uninvolved, there's another, more ferocious personality lurking within her. You can probably say that possibility is high. Well, something like that. But you know what? I'm not even the tiniest bit involved in this, since I have nothing to gain by killing you. Right? But didn't you say, can I do the killing instead? Did you take that seriously? That was just a little joke. Or perhaps, do you really believe I'm the culprit? No. No. I shook my head. Well, perhaps this means you trust me. This time I nodded. I see, I like it when you're honest. Well then, shall I tell you about the culprit now? Huh? I've picked up a couple of clues. I more or less understood who's really behind it. I brushed the bridge of my nose with the fingertip, peered into Tori's eyes, chose my next words carefully. And who might that be? Tori pointed straight at me and declared it. You. What? So dumbfounded I forgot to breathe. I felt a vision began to distort. What the hell did you just say? I managed to wring my answer from my paralyzed throat. Satoru, didn't you collapse in the dining area this morning? You ingested the Amahara inhibitor and the DMT, didn't you? And the person who took them is you yourself. Tori continued. Putting it all together, this is our explanation. First of all, it seems the inhibitor and the DMT belonged to Tori in the first place. This morning after she woke up, Tori suddenly felt uneasy about Enomoto's corpse and came down to the basement. There, she says she discovered the dimly lit room. The door had been left open after the scuffle with Enomoto. She went inside. There was another room, though, there housing a generator and several shelves of different medications. After discovering the inhibitor and the DMT, she took them back to her room. It's beyond me why she'd want to do that, but needless to say she did it anyway. She's quite familiar with both the inhibitor and DMT. She knew what would happen if she took them herself, too, and after fasting for 48 hours, she wanted to try experiencing their effects firsthand. In other words, this is what happened. She left a small room carrying 2 bottles close to her chest. She climbed the stairs back up to the dining area. Here, her explanation grew a little vague. I lost consciousness there. When I came to, I saw Satoru lying on the floor, with the 2 empty bottles right next to you. So assuming I'd ingested the chemicals, it seems. Immediately after, Itsumi came to her room. Out of her room, and Tori promptly ran away, she said. If Itsumi had found out she'd stolen the drugs, things could have gotten ugly. Wait right there. And you didn't witness it directly, did you? But there wasn't anyone else around. I can only think that you drank them, Satoru. Sorry. Not Satoru, but the Cocoro personality, right? Cocoro did. I asked it almost as reflex, but I'd already anticipated it. If Satoru is right, then of course it was the other personality, Cocoro, who drank it. I don't believe it. I don't think that's what happened. So I figured that meant all the other crimes were probably the work of Cocoro personality as well. No, you're wrong. That's wrong. I thought immediately. In the bathtub incident, sure, Cocoro might have thrown herself in. What about the clock tower? That was before any space-time transfer had occurred. The war over my left arm, that can't be explained either. I resolved myself and tried asking Satoru about it. She answered readily. Wasn't that just self-mutilation? Satoru, I hate to say it, but don't you have a couple of screws loose? Couldn't you have those impulses dwelling inside you? Well, so you're the one who seized the knife in one hand, aimed at the other hand, and then with a single stroke? Sorry, I made the same mistake again. Not Satoru, but Kuroko, right? My left arm. That's right, the wound was on my left arm. But Kuroko is left-handed. That's a contradiction. As I lost myself in my thoughts this way, Tori was continuing. And about the bathtub. Satoru, you nearly drowned in your tub, right? What if Cocoro personality had suicidal impulses or something? Self-mutilation is suicide. Anyway, Satoru, the desires of self-annihilation and self-destruction lie within you. No, in Cocoro. In Cocoro. As if she was implying you were in my heart and mind. Or maybe that's exactly what it was. The real criminal isn't Cocoro, but my mind. My mind. My mind is right-handed. My head is blank. I couldn't think. By the way, Satoru, mind telling me your impressions? I quietly looked up. Not uttering a word, I tilted my head. How did the drug feel? Tori was slowly drawing nearer. To me, sitting on the bed. The candy in her mouth had already melted. As if to compensate for it, she took another one out of her pocket and tossed it into her mouth. And she rolled it around in her mouth. She smiled impishly. She stood in front of me. With a coquettish expression on her face, she looked down at me. Hey, tell me, how did it feel? Or are you under its effects even as we speak? Why are you asking me this? Her voice floored in a melodious whisper from her lips. No reason. I won't do anything. I'm just curious. Her alluring eyes were leading me astray. I thought it said ashtray. Her breathing made my bangs sway. A captivating scent stimulated my nostrils. A sweet aroma that made me dizzy. Did you get thirsty afterwards? Your throat grows so dry, growing tighter and tighter. Have you ever tried it? Who knows, I wonder. But that's besides the point right now, don't you think? I'm asking for your impressions, Satoru. Your lips are parched. You stupid producing saliva, right? Stop producing saliva, right? Of course you do. I know, or rather you could say I heard. So when they do it, everyone keeps some candy on hand. If you stuck on one, it spontaneously produces saliva, so it'll wet your throat. Shall I give you a candy? Don't you want it? Don't you want it, right? Then let me give it to you. With a declaration, Tori suddenly pushed me down on the bed. Couldn't do anything to resist. The DMT was still eating into my body. I tried to struggle with all my might, but it was beyond my power. I felt as if I was moving underwater with heavy weights, slowing down my hands and feet. Everything felt as if it was happening in slow motion. My flailing arms and the sensation of being pushed down. And, when her lips touched mine... Oh. What the hell? Those devilish eyes before me. The soft wavering bewitched me. I was enchanted by their gentle sway. My soul was being sucked out, my strength stolen away. My hands and my feet were limp with exhaustion. I surrendered myself to her. With her left hand, Atori held my forehead down. Her right hand seized me by the chin. Her flushed skin was dazzling, glossy, and moist. A lukewarm scent arises from her. A womanly smell that could stir the heart of any man began to overwhelm me. Under the spell of that scent, I forgot myself. The most fleeting kiss, our lips barely brushed. Surrounded by that quiet and peaceful sensation, I slipped into a doze in which I had a dream. God damn. Dream of a long ago of a faraway country. The country was at the bottom of a deep valley. It was enclosed by high mountains to the north and south, and a clear brook flowing to the east and west. There was natural bankment in the upper stream. A natural reservoir had formed where the land had dammed the current. It was an incredibly clear and beautiful pond. At the center of the country, on the banks of the brook, stood an old castle. That castle, which had lost its master long ago, was already reduced to a desolate ruin. Curtains of deep crimson that had once been able to block out the brightest light now hung in tatters, stuck out through the holes in the walls that had once been windows. The ancient curtains swayed in the passing spring breeze. Suddenly a dark red shadow fell over the country. It was the shadow of an enormous, writhing spectre. The spectre swooped down from the sky, heading for the bottom of the canyon, landing at the base of the mountains. The monster skillfully wrenched open the gate of the old castle and slid inside. The spectre assumed an air of arrogance, toying with the deep crimson curtains it wished. At that very moment, a bolt of spring lightning struck the window, and yet the monster was unfazed. It gently caressed the curtains, tracing their texture. It ripped them from their fixtures and slithered back and forth across time. Then the spectre chanted a spell. As if in response, the embankment surrounding the beautiful lake collapsed, sending a huge volume of water thundering down towards the valley below. It became a great flood. The whole country was submerged in an instant. Did it suddenly feel remorse? The spectre departed, the castle leaving behind a beautiful jewel. The jewel emitted a sweet fragrance, tinged with a faint acidity. When I woke from the dream, Atori's face was still close to mine. "Is it tasty?" Drawing back slightly from her lips, she whispered that to me. "Or isn't it?" Couldn't so much as begin to speak. At the height of my intoxication and bewilderment, I couldn't even discern the meaning of her words. But it satisfied your thirst, right? Or was it not enough? Without even waiting an answer, she approached once again. Only the faintest brush like a kiss in the childhood. I had another dream. Dream of a faraway country. The dream moments! Oh god. I came to my senses. Atori had already disappeared. The corner of my mouth, only a bittersweet sphere had remained. Present time, 9:45. Night had fallen long before. I took the DMT at 8 this morning. 12 hours had already passed. The residue of the chemical in my body has been disassembled, eliminated, and my physical malice had only just begun to let up. My body had recovered to the point where I could jump around and do whatever else. As time passed, even the memories of Atori had carved into me gradually faded away. Only that captivating scent still lingered in my nose. Nevertheless, there was no use thinking about that act of hers. I shifted my attention to other matters. I thought about the shelter cabin. What were they doing right now? On this day 1 year ago, Mount Cocoro should be undergoing a blizzard right now. With no fuel or rations left, how do they feel as time ticks away? In any case, I had to lead them out of the circle as soon as possible. It happened shortly after I thought that. The next transfer. Promise. All of a sudden, the scenery changed completely. The sphere vanished, and the shelter cabin took its place. and a wave of cold struck me. This was no normal cold. I felt pain as though it were eating into my skin. My teeth chattered. Even the air I breathed out felt frozen. No wonder there was firewood left. Yomogi, Lin, and Uni were standing in different places around the room trying to bear the cold. Nobody was talking. Nobody so much as moved a muscle. Even sustaining their breath required the utmost effort. I was in a world about to be consumed by snow and ice, silence and death. I was lying on a bed alone. I slowly got up and went to the window to survey the scene outside. The sky was clear. Obviously, we're on Aosagi Island. Alright, I'm getting everyone out of the circle. Ready to set my plan in motion, I turned towards the others. At that moment... Ah! Lin abruptly started to yell. Ah! No more. No more, no more, no more, no more, no more, no more. I don't want to die. Can't die yet. At her wit's end, she moaned, running in anguish. Anguish. Not good. The way things were going, Lin would have a mental breakdown. I rushed over to her. Oh, this reminds me, I didn't do the other choices, did I? Should I? Nah, I'm good. Don't need 100% it. I will call out to her. Lin, Lin! I grabbed Lin by the shoulders and loudly called her name. Snap out of it, Lin. Get a hold of yourself. Pull yourself together. Constructing a self is one of the strong points, right? Lin's eyes focused on me. Lin. What? Lin fixed me with a sharp glare. What do you want? Who the hell are you playing at? What does self mean anyway? Does that have some purpose? Flames of hatred ignited in her arms. Pretend to be Satoru at a time like this? I've had enough. Never acknowledge you. I'll never accept you no matter how much you keep pretending to be Satoru. I hate you. Lin threw some blankets over her head and turned away from me. Nothing I could say would be effective now. Oh well, nothing I can do. Once this happens, any further action is useless. When Lin flares up at someone, she won't forgive them so easily. A cooling off period is in order. I can't do anything more than just leave her alone. But for now, it looks like Lin's regained her self-control. I think she'll be able to keep her composure for a while. I left her side. I got up from my bed and headed towards the window again. The weather outside was clear as usual. Alright, we can escape this time. Let's get everyone out of here. I can't aim. But before that, I decided to check outside the circle one more time. I needed to stay focused and be careful. I opened the door and stepped outside. 33 minutes had nearly passed since my arrival here. Didn't have much time. Filled with my determination, I kicked off the floorboards inside the entrance and jumped onto the snow. Trudged my way through it. Before long, the snow had piled up around my feet, making it impossible for me to go any further. Probably should have just brought the three of them with me in the first place. No point in regretting it now, though I'm already all the way out here. It was 110 meters from the shelter cabin at the edge of the circle. Even with the resistance from the snow, a one-way trip should only take 5 minutes if I hurried. There was a gentle uphill slope on my way, but I already watched that in my calculations. I continued trudging through the snow and up at the hill. I raised my eyes to the heavens. Faint clouds drifted far above, but otherwise the night sky was ironically clear. Once the space-time transfer occurs, the starry sky will probably be erased in an instant as well, though my consciousness would remain here at Aosagi Island, so I wouldn't be able to see it happen. I silently continued up the hill, and eventually reached the edge of the circle. I knew it was the edge because of the slight difference in elevation. The layer of fallen snow on the outside was visibly lower. To me, the clearly defined difference between the levels of snow was a strong indicator. I was in an artificial environment. When I raised my head, spread before me was the same scene I had seen 2 days ago, completely unchanged. Far off in the distance, a horizon dividing sky and sea. A myriad of twinkling stars above it, the glassy depths of the dark ocean below. That was Aosagi Island after all. After I finished confirming it, I took a deep breath and immediately turned back the way I came. But just as I did, I caught the merest glimpse of a strange shadow out of the corner of my eye. I'd only walked 10 or 20 meters from the shore. The shadow was just inside the circle. Some kind of flesh-covered cloth covered it. I think it's clothing. Drawn to it, I headed away from my previous path and headed over towards it. Ooh, it's her again. Realized with a single glance that it was a corpse. The remains of a lone girl lay there, almost buried in the snow. I tried lifting her arm, but she didn't move an inch. No, she was clearly past the point of being able to move. You could call her an ice sculpture, the way she was now. She was frozen solid, no longer any different from the snow that surrounded her. Only her dead face, so similar to a sleeper's, hinted that there had once been life here. A pale white skin. Her face encased in ice, shone under the faint light and the stars with an almost enchanting beauty. It may have been imprudent, but I almost forgot about the time as I stared at the face. Of course, I couldn't recall ever having met her. So who was she? And how did the girl get all the way out here? Returning to my senses, I searched her until I discovered a wallet. There was a driver's license inside. I drew it out and looked down at it. Suzukage. Oh, I was right. Hitori's switching personalities with the girl here. That's what's going on. This girl can talk. Wait, hang on. No, the original Hitori can talk, but this girl can't. Because when you think about it, when the transfers happen, Hitori can't talk, the Hitorian sphere can't talk. Meaning it's because this personality of this girl is in Hitori. Now, I think the reason she can't talk is because immediately she's frozen, so she's incapable of doing so. But maybe that's what she wanted to tell Kuroko. That she was trying to tell her, oh, I'm actually in the snow right now, come and save me, bitch. But, oh my god. That makes so much sense. That's what was written there. I left her remains lying there and began to run. Naturally, it wasn't as though I felt guilt, but I no longer had the freedom to dwell on it right now. I kicked up snow as I ran. I practically rolled down the slope back to the cabin. Fragmented thoughts raced through my head. Suzukage Hitori, the girl's name was Hitori. Though she was no longer alive, the girl was the real Suzukage Hitori. But at the same time, I've got to get those three out of the circle. Chaos reigned in my head. I felt like I was losing it. I charged forward, raising my legs as high as I could, hoping to regain my reason. At that moment, I heard something, a whirring rhythmic sound rendering the atmosphere. That's why they saw a helicopter. They saw a helicopter not because they were in the mountains, but because they were actually in Aosage. And that's why they saw a helicopter, because it was probably some kind of, I don't know, because they're on an island, so obviously they'd see a helicopter. A helicopter wouldn't be able to go 12,000 feet into the air, I think. Looking up, I saw a helicopter. It's probably a self-defense force transport vehicle. Its propeller rotated in its designated circle, keeping its heavy frame up in the air. This is Mount Kukurit's Aosage Island. It wouldn't have been at all strange for a transport helicopter to pass overhead. But I only knew that because I knew the truth. Yomogi and Lin were inside the shelter cabin. And as soon as I thought that, sure enough, both of them came flying out of the cabin, panicking as though this was their last chance. Hey, over here! Down here! Down here! Save us! Jeez, over here! Where do you think you're going? They were probably drawn out by the sound of the helicopter. They waved their arms at the aircraft frantically. Yomogi was clutching a flashlight in one hand. After all, Uni appeared as well, staggering as he ran. I nodded as I made sure all three of them were there. Then I took off running after the helicopter. Luckily, it was heading right in my direction. I stood there in place and waited for them to come to me. Turning my head, I followed it with my eyes, breathing hard. It was pretty high up. I could tell what it was by the way it was shaped, but from this distance it was difficult to make out anything else. The helicopter glided further away with the starry sky. Eventually, the three of them reached me. Hey, what do you think you're doing, Fuyukawa-san? Don't you know what's going on? Look over there, it's a helicopter. Helicopters come. Yomogi shouted, breathing roughly. He pointed straight up the helicopters overhead. Hey, wait! Please wait! Shouting at the top of his lungs, Yomogi began to chase after it. Lin and Uni followed close behind him, chased after them as well. There was no reason not to. If they continued on like this, the three of them would probably escape the circle. Wait, the three of them? What about me? What would happen to Kokoro's body? But even as I thought that, I ran on, continuing my pursuit. He caught up to Uni. As we ran, he began to speak. Satoru! What is it? Truth is, it's something I need to tell you. Out of breath, he tried to speak over the pauses for breath. So what is it already? Listen, Satoru. Listen, Satoru. There's no way we'll make it out of the circle. Huh? It's going to happen soon. Space-time transfer. I glanced down at my wristwatch. Hands were pointing at 10:52. Edge of the circle is still far off. Star, calm down and listen, okay? This will be the last time that we meet like this. These words stopped me in my tracks. Uni halted as well and turned to face me. How should I play this? The next transfer won't happen until the 17th. How can you possibly know that? Just be quiet and listen, we've got no time left. Next transfer will happen at 17th at 4:48. Let me repeat. Next transfer will happen at 17th, 4:48. That's why, until then. Damn it. He's going to say stay out of the circle, right?